Good morning, everyone. It's Trina, and I wanted to continue reading the book. And we're not reading all of it. We're reading most of it, though. So I may skip around just a little bit. But this morning, I wanted to get into the 3 levels of initiation. And I read just a little bit of it, and I thought it was awesome. So I wanted to share it with you guys. So we'll begin reading the 3 levels of initiation. The mystery schools were organized into 3 levels of initiation. This is where we get our template for the 3 levels of education. Today, we have elementary, middle, and high school. This also is the template for our bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees. In Greece, these degrees were called the purification, illumination, and the revelation. In the final degrees, the initiate was said to have had direct experience with God. I knew this was possible. This is what I'd always seen. So from the first level of initiation taught the importance of living a virtuous life. Fundamentally, the same concepts taught in the 10 Commandments. In other words, don't lie, cheat, steal, kill, covet thy neighbor's wife. All excellent principles for creating just as a just and moral society. The first level is also taught the universal laws of karma and reincarnation, describing in detail the consequences of a person's actions in the hereafter and in subsequent lives based on the choices we make in this one. Everything I keep reading is talking about the importance of what you do while you're physical. The physical is apparently going to be super important to what happens to you when you cross over. So I think that these teachings are profound, and I think this is a lot of what we've missed with our current religions and dogmas. We don't have these understandings of what happens after life. What is the process? What is the review? What happens after the review? These are questions that I have literally known because I remembered writing my contracts with my team before I came into this incarnation. And I knew it was going to be tough, and I knew we were on a mission, and I have memory of this. So I was always in the back of my mind going, how could I have memories of a life before if I didn't exist before? So with that, I've come to realize that I have existed before, and all of you have as well. So I think this is one of the deeper truths that we're trying to actually integrate into our knowing. And because of our belief systems, it's kind of challenging to actually really grasp these concepts as a potential that this is definitely our reality. So the first level has also emphasized the importance of spiritual service to others. For it is through this giving that we ultimately will grow, learn, and receive the blessings of love. First level initiates were also taught herbalism, healing, botany, and the development of their spiritual energy bodies. In some cases, resulting in what we would call miracle healings. I've seen this happen over and over again. And it brings forth a state of awe. It's undescribable, but the bliss and the awe that comes with witnessing healings, it's the best thing I've ever experienced on this physical plane thus far, is witnessing miracles. It's the best medicine ever. So, this curriculum took at least 7 years to complete, and throughout the centuries produced thousands of proficient healers who then passed their knowledge on to others. The second level of the mysteries was dedicated to the disciplines of science and the unseen forces behind the visible world. This included the study of mathematics, sacred geometry, astronomy, astrology, music, engineering, and physics. The Greek word for nature, that is the inspiration for the word physics today. The second level also included philosophy, theology, cosmology, psychology, logic, science, and ethics. The goal of all these studies was to learn right thinking and using knowledge obtained from logic, philosophy, and direct mystical experience, understood who they really are and how we really should live in harmony with the universe, inspiring us to practice right action in our daily lives. And I think this is the key. This has to be a daily practice. It's not on Sunday only. This is 7 days a week, 24/7. You need to consciously be aware of how you're vibrating, and that's a reflection of what you're feeling and thinking. So, strive to be in right action. Right action. That is a good goal to pursue. Just always try to strive to be in right action. The inner initiations. While there is still much that we do not know about the highest level of initiation in the mysteries, since the initiates were sworn to secrecy, we do know that these teachings have been held to the highest regard by some of the greatest minds of any age, enduring for thousands of years before the Abrahamic religions took hold. We also know that purity of heart was one of the requirements for entry into the higher levels of the mystery schools, because travel into the higher dimensions cannot be accomplished by someone whose intentions are not pure. In fact, these higher spiritual religions can only be reached by people who are spiritually attuned to them. Without proper vibration, a person is simply locked out. So one must harmonize one's own frequency to the higher dimensions, or else they will remain closed to you forever. The ancient sages understood that the physics of heaven are different from the laws that govern the earth. Each dimensional plane has its own set of bindings or laws, a subject we will explore later in part 2 of this book. What it is important to realize at this point is that each soul is only allowed entrance into the celestial realms where it has reached a match of state of consciousness. I knew this was true. This allows the person to resonate with the specific realm it enters. It's a match of frequency. Our vibration must match where we choose to go. So you have to remember when you die that you plan to ascend high. So you need to fill your heart with love and fill your being with laughter and joy and go where your heart takes you, and you will land in your heaven. I know it. You will go to your heaven. And I think all of us have our own heavens. So that might be a potential. Your heaven is going to be a product of your own manifestation. So work on creating your heaven here, now. So, and while knowledge is golden in the kingdom of heaven, ultimately the true key to this inner door is governed by purity and love that emanates from a person's heart. In essence, the mysteries were designed to allow each student to discover and experience his or her own immortal nature. For it is only traveling into the higher registers of the astral or the mental planes that a student could hope to realize the spiritual reality that lies behind our physical world. Therefore, students were encouraged to travel out of body and to have near-death experiences so they could have their own internal gnosis, discovering firsthand that which we have existed beyond the mere physicality of this body. Ultimately, such a realization helps us to realize that what we do in each lifetime has a direct bearing on the quality of our next incarnation, as well as our destination in the afterlife. As millions of near-death experiencers have realized, this understanding has the power to fundamentally change a person's life. When we stand at the doorway of these vast realms of light and meet the beings who oversee these celestial worlds, then we can begin to view life from an entirely different perspective, at which point we want to turn away from life and turn away from selfishness and materialism and build a life based on more enduring principles. In time, the initiates come to realize that each lifetime is a series of spiritual trials and tests. How well will we do with these tests? How well we do will determine how we progress as a soul. What matters most in each and every lifetime is not the questioning and the acquisitioning of money, fame, and power, but the depths of one's character. The initiates discovered that at the close of every life, we are drawn back into that realm that resonates with our current level of consciousness. The lower our consciousness, while we are alive in the mortal realms, the lower the realm of arrival in the afterlife. While the higher our vibration at the end of each lifetime, the more lofty our destination becomes on the other side. So this is the 3 initiations. So they go next into Orpheus, the divine musician. And this is a picture of Orpheus with his lyre. The story of Orpheus. The most famous story about Orpheus concerns the day that he was to be married to Eurydice. His beloved was walking among the river bank and was set upon by a satyr. In her effort to escape, she fell into a nest of vipers and suffered a fatal bite to her heel. When Orpheus discovered her limp body, he was so overcome with grief that he played such a mournful song that even the gods wept. Grief-stricken, he decided that he would enter the underworld, where Hades resides, to get her back. The only problem was that Archerion, the land of the dead, a Bulgarian tradition says that Orpheus entered the underworld via a cave called the Devil's Throat. Diavoloskala Gurula, whatever, I cannot pronounce that word, sorry, but which was close to Trigrad in the Rhodope Mountains in southern Bulgaria. So he entered into the dragon's throat in southern Bulgaria. When at last he stood before Hades, the king of the underworld, Orpheus begged for Eurydice's release, and he played his lyre. The music was so beautiful that it was said that Hades actually wept, granting his beloved safe passage out of the Archeon on one condition. Orpheus was not to look at her face until they reached the upper world. Together the two set off, walking single file through the darkened caverns to the underworld. But as the hours went on, Eurydice began to plead with him, "Turn and look at me, look at me." Finally, as Orpheus refused and kept going forward, he finally reached the upper world and emerged from the cave. He turned to see her face, but Eurydice had not yet emerged from the cave. The spell was broken, and Eurydice was forced to return back into the land of the dead, now completely beyond Orpheus's power to see her or save her. Orphic wisdom tells that all souls are immortal, and that each human being are made of the substance of both the heaven and the earth. Since there is an eternal spark within us, it is our nature to aspire to freedom. Yet humankind is held in fetters by the passions of this world. And until we can liberate ourselves from their hold on us, when we die, our contact with this world, our contract with this world ends. I saw that contract. And freeing us to ascend once more into the celestial realms. However, in each new life, we enter a new contract, and thus we are imprisoned on the cosmic wheel once again until we can spiritually awaken. The concept of the ever-rotating wheel is familiar to both Eastern and Western theological traditions. It is this wheel of life, death, and rebirth, the road that all beings must travel on their way to enlightenment. At one moment, we are on the top of the world, full of money, fame, beauty, and success. At the next moment, we are at the bottom, poor, struggling, and unknown. In the Vedic traditions, the wheel becoming, referring to the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Becoming what, you might ask? Becoming one with the divine. This is what the Orphics taught, that if you had lived a pure life, you could attain salvation. Purity was achieved through wholesomeness of intention, thought, and action, which in the Orphic system includes being a vegetarian, only eating meat on special occasions, as to avoid the suffering of animals. The Orphics also believed and embraced reincarnation, which was called transmigration or metempsychosis in the ancient world. They believed the purpose of each lifetime was to learn compassion, patience, humility, wisdom, and love, and to build upon this greater knowledge until we reached mastery. The late 19th century German philosopher and theologian Edward Zeller, celebrated for his writings on ancient Greek philosophy, writes about these beliefs. The doctrine of metempsychosis seems really to have passed from the theology of the mysteries into philosophy. In the Orphic theology, transmigration is clearly to be found. Once we have every reason to believe it was taught in the Orphic mysteries, prior to the date of Pythagoras. According to Herodotus, the Orphics obtained this doctrine from Egypt, but it is also conceivable that this belief may have originally immigrated from the East with the Greeks themselves and had been the first confined to a narrow circle, becoming afterward more important and more widely diffused. Manly P. Hall also speaks about this universal logic of ancient belief. The doctrine of reincarnation declares that we can neither suffer from the sins of another nor be bound by any shackles other than those of our own forging. All the powers we possess today are a sum of our past achievements. Likewise, the miseries from which we suffer are the fruitage of our own past abuses. Reincarnation explains that slow but inevitable progress by which both the sage and the savior have lifted themselves above the mediocrity of the masses, and thus have demonstrated the presence of the potential God in every creature. The creature, furthermore, is discovered to be an evolving rather than a creating deity. The inconceivable interval of the cosmic space between God and the atom being filled with innumerable orders of unfolding lives. Reincarnation places man upon his own merits and measures his future status by his daily works. It is not a doctrine of excuses, evasions, or vague references to the disposition of an outrageous providence. Man, this becomes in truth the master of his own destiny and the captain of his own soul. All right, I think I'm going to stop this one for now, and next we will get into the Eleusinian mysteries. Always think of the cosmos as one living being, having one substance and one soul, and how all things trace back to a single sentence or sentience, and how it all does all things with single intention, and how all things are the causes of all that exist, and how intertwined the fabric and how closely woven the web. So we will read more further in a little bit. I love you guys. Happy Saturday. And I hope you guys are finding this stuff as interesting as I am, because I love this information. It resonates with me on a very deep level. And I love how she's bringing forth the belief systems of all the ancient belief systems and showing the contrast of what they believed versus the belief systems that we hold now. So I love you all. Namaste. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.